So, good afternoon, everyone. So, I'm Manilin G. Alboro. I'm first reporter of Chapter 5 Models of MTB-MLE. So, Mother tongue or MT provides a strong foundation for learning. Mother tongue develop contributes to the learner's cognitive, academic, and social development while affirming positive learner identity. Using the MT or mother tongue facilitates teaching of the curriculum from the learner's cultural perspective, helping to link new information with what the learner already knows. In this way, the learning is natural and enjoyable. So no, learners are more successful in the academic studies, find it easier to learn other languages and are able to demonstrate what they know and ask questions and participate class when their first language is used as the language of instruction. So mother tongue includes various different methods of implementing. So no, the mother tongue based multilingual education MTB-MLE. So this chapter will provide an overview of con- different models of multilingual education and relate them to the Philippine context. And additionally, characteristics of both strong and weak MTB-MLE programs will be discussed. We will discuss. It is hoped that educators will continue to develop strong method for the implementation of MTB-MLE. So, learning outcomes. So, compare the benefits and challenges of various models of MTB-MLE from around the world. Contrast weak and strong forms of MLE. Explain the characteristics of successful MTB-MLE programs. So, introduction. So, mother tongue based multilingual education with the learner's home language or mother tongue in order to help them understand the lesson well through a familiar language, building on familiar concepts while learning both Filipino and English as second language. Such as approach contributes to building an image of the students an intelligent, imaginative, and linguistically talented by acknowledging and building on the child cultural and home language and thereby challenging patterns of societal discrimination and exclusion. So no. So teachers teach through a language learners do not yet speak. Learners simply do not understand the lesson and are more focuses on memorizing what the teachers say. Then learning academic concept, however, MTB MLE is a far more than just changing the language that comes out of the mouth of the teacher or the language that is contained the textbook and exam or MTB-MLE is about focusing learning on the child development thinking skills, creativity, and social skills needed in our rapidly challenging world. And in there to nature broad global participation without sacrificing one's cultural identity. So in the Philippines, education has focused more on language learning than on child conceptual development, academic development, or social development because of traditional language immersion approaches of deep eds, brave new policy of MTB-ME. So aims to strengthen learning through officially developing home languages in order to more effectively impact academic learning and development of Filipino and English. These changes aim to help learners achieve well in the classroom to provide meaningful work opportunity later. So MTB-MLE is used to mother tongue or first language learning one as the language of instruction. while also developing Filipino and English as a second language. So learning to starting and the language learners know best build a strong foundation. So which strengthens their learning of other languages and academic the learning of Filipino and English rather than the learning to. So no, this is this is because the child understands the languages they are learning rather than simply memorizing concept or vocabulary. So next, historical context. So historical context, mother tongue based education is the standard educational approach in many parts of the world. For speakers of dominant languages, while second language immersion education has been the dominant approach for minority or non-dominant language speakers around the globe. So, in second language education, learners begin the schooling submerged in second and language, such as Filipino and English. So, people often assume that English is the key to economic advantage and thus push for English education at the expense of local language. So, but in reality, economically advanced countries provide mother tongue based education to citizens while teaching other dominant languages such as English and second language. Such as countries include Japan, South Korea, Singapore, Australia, and countries of Europe and North Africa. Models of multilingual education. So there are different models or programs of multilingual education are based on either the intent of assimilation or language maintenance. So assimilation is movement away from home language into dominant language, Filipino and English, relegating the home language as a social language only. Stagnant language maintenance aims to maintain language skills at the level when entering education. For example, oral, empty, without empty literacy to prevent home language loss. So, development maintenance aims to develop learners MT or mother tongue to full proficiency and full literacy equal to that of dominant language, leading to multiculturalism and linguistic diversity. So there are 10 different aims of mother tongue based multilingual education. So first is assimilate learners or communities into mainstream Filipino society to create unity within a multi-ethnic and multilingual society, to develop proficiency in the global language for communicating with outsiders, to develop marketable language skills, to preserve ethnic and religious identity, to reconcile and moderate linguistic and political communities, to spread the use of the colonial global language, socializing the population and the colonial global extents, to strengthen elite groups and preserve their societal positions, to create equal status below to sociality unique languages, to strengthen understanding of language and cultural. So while these 10 M's of MLE may help us to understand differences MTB-MLE programs, it should be noted that is a reality models changes and adapt to different contexts all the time. Outline several models of bilingual or multilingual education in the chart below. So, um, mother tongue based instruction. So the learning programs is delivered entirely in children learning one. Bilingual education Two language are used as the media of instruction. This type of instruction in which children to speak both the minority and majority language are taught and both majority and minority non-dominant languages. Mother tongue-based bilingual education, learning one is used as the primary medium of instruction during all of primary school. Then learning two is introduced as a subject of study to prepare children for eventual transition to using learning two as the medium of learning in some academic classes. Multilingual education, formal use of more than two languages in curriculum. Transitional bilingual or multilingual education or bridging. This type of instruction is aimed and planning transitional for children to move from learning and learning to, such as transition can be done learning abruptly after a few years or after a longer period during which the child has become fully fluent academically proficient in learning one. This is also called adjunctive bilingual education because one or more languages are added but do not displace learning one. So immersion of foreign language instruction. The entire education programs and provided in a language that is new to the child. Submersion, speakers of non-dominant language has no choice but to receive, understand. The approach promotes subtractive bilingualism, learning two, and the expense of learning one. Weak and strong forms of MLE. So, strong forms of MLE recognize the importance of developing the learner's first language to support all learning well. When the learning understand what the teacher is saying, he or she is able to process the lesson and learn the subject matter. And a strong MLE programs, the NT or mother tongue is considered a resource that does not hinder learning other languages but rather contributes to development of second language through comprehension. Weak forms of multilingual education generally focus on the learner's mother tongue only for a short time in order to strengthen second language learning or only a code switching. In And so, thus the MT or mother tongue is not considered necessary for developing higher levels of thinking or academic subject, but only a auxiliary language to aid an initial second language learning as um, opposed to a foundational language of learning. So, in weak forms of MLE1's basic 1-2 vocabulary, such as color names, number, and basic greetings and evidence by the learner, it is wrongly assumed that learners are fully able to use their second language for learning. So, however, the assumption so so that the second language is more important than learning comprehend and think with one's first language has not been found to be effective among many students or low socioeconomic status. Research indicates that students achieve higher scores languages. So without the MT or mother tongue as language of instruction, learners commonly take more time to master content. Mother tongue based instruction. So, mother tongue education focuses on teaching learners through their mother tongue so that learning occurs naturally and easily and is focused on subject matter, conceptual development rather than on language learning alone, memorization and repetitive learning. So students learn within the framework of their everyday knowledge and experiences, where their home culture and prior knowledge are highly valued. This builds strong academic achievement, and self-confidence. So bilingual education uses two language for instruction, typically one of which is the MT or mother tongue of the learners and the other the second language. So students languages. So this type of instruction is also known as dual languages instruction. So two-way bilingual education facilitates high level of bilingualize by including MT or mother tongue development of two different language groups in the classroom and works to ensure that both groups are equally represented. So that is half the class picks one language as MT or mother tongue. Typically, one language is dominant while the other is non-dominant. Both of language are developed through biliteracy and bilingual instruction with the aim that all students will be enriched through developing high levels of proficiency in both language. This is not a core the Philippines language. In addition, it is our is it is our for a school serve equal numbers of students from only two different mother tongues. While there are cases of mixed language in the classroom, there does not appear to be empty or mother tongue speakers of two languages within one school desiring to learn. That's all my report. Thank you.
Mother tongue-based instruction. Mother tongue can often be referred to as first language or native language. It is the language that most commonly speak. However, mother tongue is always referencing the language that the child has used from birth and important and impacting times in the child's life. So, mother tongue-based instruction or education focuses on teaching learners through their mother tongue so that learning occurs naturally and easily and focus on the subject matter rather than on language learning alone. So students learn within the framework of their everyday knowledge and experiences, where their home culture and prior knowledge are highly valued. So this builds strong academic achievement and self-confidence. As we all know that communication is a survival resource. So mother tongue based education has shown to improve children's literacy. So learners begin their education in the language they understand best, their mother tongue, and need to develop a strong foundation in their mother tongue language before effectively learning additional languages. So using mother tongue helps a child develop their critical thinking and literacy skills. So children learning in mother tongue adopt a better understanding of the curriculum. So mother tongue education takes place from pre-kindergarten and spans up to 6th grade. Children learn first in a familiar language and then gradually add a second language. When it is time to incorporate the second language, children who learn through mother tongue programs build on existing language skills to understand what they are reading, which in turn improves their literacy rates. So it is easier for children to read, write, and transfer words from their first language to their second language if they have a solid foundation in their mother tongue. So mother tongue does not have to be the language spoken by the mother. So children can and often do speak more than one or even two languages at home. For example, they may speak one language with their mother, another with their father, and a third with their grandparents. So when children develop their mother tongue, they are fostering a whole host of other essential skills, such as their critical thinking and literacy skills. So these skills that they take with them into formal education. Any skills and concepts gained in the learner's home language don't have to be retaught when they transfer to a second language. So a strong mother tongue foundation equips children with the skills they need to learn additional languages. allowing them to transfer their understanding of the structure of language to several new languages. The understanding of grammar that develops when children learn their first language can easily be passed on to other languages. So, mother tongue and language play a huge role in the development of personal, social, and cultural identity. So, children with a strong foundation in their first language often display a deeper understanding of themselves and their place within the society. So, along with the increased sense of their well-being and confidence. So naturally, this flows down into every aspect of their lives, including their academic achievement. There are many benefits to a child learning in their mother tongue language in the classroom. So there are advantages of mother tongue in education. Mother tongue makes it easier for children to pick up and learn other languages. Mother tongue develops a child's personal, social, and cultural identity. Using mother tongue helps a child develop their critical thinking and literacy skills. And research shows that children learning in mother tongue adopt a better understanding of the curriculum, and skills learned in mother tongue do not have to be retaught when the child transfers to a second language. Bilingual education. Bilingual education uses two languages for instruction, typically one of which is the mother tongue of the learners and the other a second language. This type of instruction, bilingual education, also known as dual language. Bilingual education, so it is the act of learning two or more languages, is growing into popularity across the globe. So it aims of the achievement of competence in Filipino and English at the national level through the teaching of both languages and their use as a media of instruction at all levels. So bilingual children are better able to focus their attention on relevant information and ignore distractions. So bilingual children also are better able to focus, plan, prioritize, and make decisions. So as children get older, they tend to score higher on cognitive tests and possess more effective communication skills. So it is very important for two-way bilingual education that facilitates high levels of bilingualism. So it is the development of two different language group in the classroom and also works to ensure that both groups are equally represented. So that is half of the class speaks one language as mother tongue and the other half of the class speaks another language. So typically one language is dominant while the other is non-dominant. So both languages are developed through like biliteracy and bilingual instruction with the aim that all students will be enriched through developing high levels of proficiency in both languages. So this did not occur in the Philippines, mostly due to the desire to learn English rather than the other Philippine languages. But in addition, it is very rare for a school to serve equal numbers of students from only two different mother tongues. While there are cases of mixed languages in the classroom, there does not appear to be mother tongue speakers of two languages within one school desiring to learn each other's language. So bilingual education in the Philippines created a double barrier for students as the program became double immersion. Mother tongue-based bilingual education. So when we say mother tongue-based bilingual education, it is a common type of bilingual education outside of the Philippines where two languages are used for instruction and one of the languages is the mother tongue of the learners. So mother tongue-based bilingual education, so quality education is the goal of every school and educational institution across the globe. So mother tongue-based bilingual education means starting with the learner's knowledge and experiences by developing reading, writing, and thinking skills in the mother tongue or home language while teaching the second or foreign language as a subject. So it is very important that mother tongue based bilingual education use as a primary language of instruction, while it is taught as a subject through elementary school. So later students transition into instruction is some of the basic academic classes. So mother tongue based bilingual education aim to develop both languages for academics, literacy, and learning, and thus mother tongue teaching continues through at least 6 years of schooling. Multilingual education. Multilingual education, there are more languages are used in formal education, aiming to produce multilingual and multicultural citizens. So multilingual education provides monolingual students with the opportunity to learn a second language and become bilingual. So multilingual education, like it is a first language first education, that is, for example, schooling, which begins in the mother tongue and transitions to additional languages. So typically, multilingual education programs are situated in developing more countries. So multilingual education also have components like strong foundation. So children whose early education is in the language of their home tend to do better in the later years of their education. So we have strong foundation, we also have a strong bridge. It is an essential difference between multilingual education programs and rural mother tongue education programs, that is inclusion of a guided transition from learning through the mother tongue to learning through another tongue. So we have also stages in multilingual education program. So it is a widespread understanding program such as that instruction should take place in the following stages. So stage 1, learning takes place entirely in the child's home language. Stage 2, building fluency in the mother tongue, introduction of oral. Stage 3, building oral fluency in introduction of literacy. Stage 4, using both language 1 and language 2 for lifelong learning. So multilingual education proponents stress that the second language acquisition component is seen as a two-way bridge, such that learners gain more the ability to move back and forth between their mother tongue and other tongues, rather than simply a transitional literacy program where reading through the mother tongue is abandoned at the same stage in the education. Transitional multilingual education. So transitional multilingual education begins with the official use of the learner's mother tongue in the early years for the purpose of enhancing the learning of the second language. So, transitional multilingual education, this approach aims toward mother tongue into second languages, has been criticized as being dominant society over non-dominant or minority learners, and thereby perpetuating inequality. So outcomes are generally poor in transitional multilingual education, but gradual transition permits a strong versions of different subjects. So the development of a framework of the gradual transitions, materials, and teacher training are still needed. So that's why in transitional multilingual education, it is very important also for students to learn how to transition when it comes to language, because it is the official use of the learners on their mother tongue, especially in early years. So it is very important for them to enhance more, to develop on their own, and to discover on how to assist the second language. Maintenance multilingual education. So, maintenance multilingual programs aim to develop multilingual societies by focusing on academic development in the mother tongue through the school years while developing two or more additional languages. So, maintenance, so more additional languages, or like extended development of the mother tongue that contributes to second language development, but not just only the language development but also cognitive development to their academic development and strengthening the cultural identity. So such a policy also aims to support ethnic minority groups in the nation. So like MTB-MLE may become maintenance, especially the maintenance multilingual education program in the Philippines when the gradual transition in grades 4 to 6 is adequately defined and the mother tongue is taught as a subject at least through high school. Lastly, the immersion of foreign language instruction. So immersion education is a program aimed to help learners develop second language proficiency. And then immersion programs immerse language learners in a second language aiming to develop fully proficient second language speakers. So immersion or foreign language instruction. So it is a foreign language immersion that is an approach to teaching another language that involves immersing students in the target language throughout the school day. So teachers speak only the target language to teach academic subjects using the wide range of instructional strategies. So immersion, it is a method of foreign language instruction in which the regular school curriculum is taught through the medium of the language. So the foreign language is the vehicle for content instruction. So it is not the subject of instruction, but the different questions pertaining to the following subjects are answered. So in immersion or foreign language instruction, so we have the long-range goals of a program, the eventual effects on verbal and mathematical skills in English, and then the keys to successful programs. We have also like the advantages and disadvantages of total and partial immersion. And then the best grade level to begin a program, the commitment also required for the participants and their parents, and then also the program, staff, materials use, the effect of immersion programs on existing foreign language programs, and also the number of students a school should plan for. So immersion education was originally developed in Canada for building fluency in both official languages and also French and English. So the program focused on immersing mother tongue English speakers is French, while developing the mother tongue in order to develop the balance in both languages. So it was highly successful and fully funded all the way down to the classroom level. So these are the mother tongue based instruction when it comes to early childhood education.
Good day, everyone. So, I am Grace Day Rodriguez. So, I am the next reporter of the chapter 5, which is I will tackle the submersion bilingual education. Submersion bilingual education is the submersion metaphor describes education as holding the learner underwater without access to life-sustaining air, similar to use of L2 as the medium of instruction without L1 support. So, some learners may take it across the bridge, often exhibiting great fatigue, while others may be swept by low achievement or dropping out of school entirely. Next is evidence indicates that new learners learn best when linking new information from the curriculum to what they already know, their language, culture, and understanding of the world around them. The former bilingual education policy (BEP) of the DepEd is classified as submersion education because learners were immersed in both Filipino, English from the beginning with adequate support of the MT. So balik ta diri sa picture, guys. So as you can see, the I mean the L1 The L1 first language of the child learned from native language or mother tongue or rich language acquisition or FLA. And then the L2, the second language, a foreign language or a target language or a foreign tongue. So submersion program simply plunge student up appropriately into classroom where their native language is not seen as fit to use and the medium of instruction is foreign to them, so they involuntarily sink or swim. So this would be mean that the submersion bilingual is. So as you can see, the picture, it shows how learners may experience across the bridge and often exhibiting great fatigue and while others may be swept away from the low achievement. Submersion bilingual education is reflected in the picture presented. So because of this program or submersion of student, naay mga bata nga maglisod o catch up sa klase, especially they immersed to a class nga ang gina-use nga language is English so much, so ma-pressure jud og ang adjustment sa ilang ma-feel and it will also affect the emotional state sa bata while they are in the field of immersing themselves to unfamiliar setup. So then the situation moves them to make action and maningkamot yun ang bata nga maka-reach out sila sa kind of education. So in this setup is really difficult to understand, especially to the native speakers nga i-immerse bitaw sila sa English language education and this is the case. Achievement of some students are delayed because of submersion program. So this program of education fill the gap and connect a strong bridge of the learner to provide a strong bridge as they acquired a strong global competence. So it is also shows the learner or the child learn L1 would help the learn to the L2 as well as academic subject. So some confusion by educators and teachers in assuming the BEP with the common practice of code switching is a form of MTB-MLE. So this is a false assumption. Teachers were taught that the best way for the learners to learn second language was to avoid to MT while immersing learners in Filipino and English. Ideas or idea nga research has shown to be false. So, submersion bilingual education kay sa case kuno nga submersion ang giingon nga babag kuno ang mother tongue sa pagkat-on sa bata sa L2. Mao kunong kanang ang other school kuno ang ni-impose of EOP nga policy kay tungod nga ang mother tongue hinders man siya sa learning of student from the second language. So in other case kanang it is said that L1 hindrance to the learning of student from L2, but this claim is considered false or not true because according to Boodscam 2003, Cook 2001, Hall and Cook 2012, Halsana and Almanisser 2012, He 2012, Littlewood and Yu 2011, and Mohan 2013, Spark at al. 2010, Spark 2012, Tumble 2001, Tumble and Daly o Kane 2009. So according to them nga it has a lack of access to research findings. So it has also evidence that the learner findings nga it has also evidence that student bitaw nga learn best when applying or bridging prior knowledge to what they are already know, including culture, language, beliefs or views views kanang this is kanang language or beliefs or views of the world kanang this is just means that what a student learn from L1 will help in the learning L2 as well as academic matters. So linking content knowledge to what students are already know is the best principle in teaching. So the teacher should be considered the developmental or development level of the student to guide them in the process of learning languages. So learning is developmental process. So meaning ang process sa bata sa sa L2 and L3 is always at its bottom part nga ga-start sa pag-speak nila sa mother tongue language nga first language bitaw sa bata nga hangtod ma-relate nila sa second language o step by step nga makaton sila sa target language nga pinaagi nga kanang sa paggamit sa first language nga mao ang foundation sa paglink sa existing knowledge in the learning to speak the second language. So next is the mainstream with foreign language teaching. So it is mainstream with foreign language teaching. So it is based on using the language of the majority group while teaching another language such as English as a second language. Non-dominant language speakers are Aklanos, Bicolanos, Ilocanos, Kalingas, Nauans, Tausug, and all non-dominant language speakers of the Philippines. So here are country in the Philippines national language and official language of the education is Filipino. So non-dominant is as I mentioned earlier, were not traditionally education in their mother tongue except in the cases of select experimental programs. So mainstream with foreign language kanang teaching is a kind of education that uses the mainstream language to teach student foreign language. So the diverse speakers with different native language speakers are advised to use the Filipino language to learn varied languages of course the second language. So the non-dominant speakers that are mentioned are all Filipino citizens that can speak Filipino language. So these speakers have their own native or tribe kanang languages by knowing that they can speak Filipino language. So then it is used in the education structure to be better learn second language properly. So next is the mother tongue based multilingual education. So commonly known as MTB-MLE was developed to provide comprehension of lessons while strengthening cognitive development, academic development, linguistic development, and social development. So mother tongue based multilingual education, the Philippines is one of the first post-colonial countries to officially order MTB-MLE as the national language in the policy. So ang MTB-MLE acts as a strong bridge by the teaching lessons from the perspective of what the learner already knows, positioning lessons in the child's world view, the way they understand the world around them. So also it is help the young children to have opportunity to learn through their MT or mother tongue. They are more likely to succeed in school. So the picture shows us the student prior knowledge is linking to the new knowledge. The picture simply give us as an idea about the MTB MTB-MLE program that bridges to the student in the learning new experiences. So this structure has the main goal of practicing mother tongue language as the medium in the comprehending, understanding lesson, and of course in learning new languages. So this idea has the purpose of making children's experience more meaningful and engaging while preserving the language of the country. So this policy obviously requires broadly applied comprehensive or retaining of teachers, developing mother tongue or materials in a large number of languages. So engaging with the communities to explain the scientific rationale of the policy change and reforming the teacher training curriculum within higher education. So also the DepEd implementing of this mother tongue based or MLE program to develop the learning of the young children, but it takes a number of additional years before the real fruit of such labor in the form of strong student achievement will be fully realized. Along with implementing this program helps a lot for a new framework to measures and improve the learning of the child. Next is experimental and mother tongue progress in the Philippines. So I will read the summary first. So since 1990, 109 multiple student studies in the Philippines have revealed that the use of English as the medium of instruction in school has not fully benefited the many speakers of non-dominant language. Alan Bernardo, 2004, references the Manru Survey Commission of 1925. So, greatest difficulty of Filipino student is in learning the foreign language in order to learn academic content. So, in 1939, DepEd allowed the teachers to supplement English with the learner's first language. And then, in 1950s and 60s, Iloilo experiment and Rizal experiments showed the increases in achievement when the MT was used as MOI. So in 1980s, Tuwali experiments show the same increased learning as did to a lesser degree the Lingua Franca program of the late 1990s. In 2006, Lubaugan experiments showed exceptional gains in academic performance as well as English language learning. So, in the experiment of MT programs in the Philippines, it shows an increased number of student performance achievement while using the mother tongue language as medium of instruction. So it means that mother tongue language is effective to student learning because there they can perform well and understand the lesson effectively. So there's a lot of experimental mother tongue programs in the Philippines shown to be bravely take the challenge and begin to the enormous effort required to change the language policy and provide mother tongue based or MLE as lead the DepEd of 2009. Next is the characteristic of successful MTB-MLE program. So I will read the summary of the characteristic of successful MTB-MLE program. So the first one is a strong, sustainable MTB-MLE program must include the significant understanding and support for the program from the teacher, school, leaders, parents, and the wider community. Availability of MT materials is a prerequisite of strong and sustainable MTB-MLE program. So the teachers, parents, school leaders, and community play important role in the sustaining the MTB-MLE program and supporting development of the child, because as part of the implementation, teachers should be well oriented about the MTB-MLE program, as well as to recognize and prepare effective instructional materials in teaching children. So teachers are most likely to be the first implementer or instructor of MTB-MLE to the children. So they are required to do process of preparing themselves about the program. To fully understand the said program, they have to undergo seminars discussing the main goals of MTB-MLE and the preparation in proceeding mother tongue discussion. Teacher may have previously used their own mother tongues only in oral conversation, and therefore now welcome instruction on the MT alphabet, grammar rules, and mother tongue writing guidelines. A basic set of L1 materials should be expanded each year to sharing across language group the best of what teacher produce. Mother tongue reading materials include selecting of outstanding student writing for use in the classroom and duplication for the entire language community. So in order to develop strong MLE, any successful MTB-MLE program should at least include the following components and prepare teacher for implementing of these components. First, MT literacy development through the entire range of school years. MT language development, MT for cognitive development and content comprehension. MT as subject each year beyond the elementary years in high school and college. Teaching Filipino oral proficiency, adding Filipino literacy development, continuing Filipino development through academics and literature. Teaching English development through academics and literature. Understanding of transfer of knowledge and skills between languages. Deep understanding of transfer of knowledge and skills between languages. Deep understanding of the value of all language throughout the entire learning process. Making an effective MT materials is very essential to that understanding of the program. So because without it, implementation of MTB-MLE will be incomplete. So full support of the program is needed. So in this case, the teacher helps to strengthen their own MT literacy skills and produce MT materials and teaching. Teacher can use the write, edit, rewrite, and illustrate high quality MT materials to use in the classroom, because it helps to fostering ongoing development of MT materials that can be used or adapted by all teachers. So why? So it creates a language experience strategy of books context, or can contribute a development of mother tongue materials. So those I mentioned are the components to prepare the teacher for implementing and development of a strong MTB-MLE program. So which they have to obtain to have a successful development and learning of a child. So DepEd policy as outlined by DO 754 2009 and DO 16 2012 requires MT as a subject and MT as a medium of instruction in academic subjects, as well as the teaching of Filipino and English as a second language in kindergarten through grade 2, grade 3. So the teacher in higher grades and understand that they will use the MT as primary MOI while increasing the development of Filipino and English inclusively for teaching still applies from grade 4. So it also has a framework to which grades 4 through 6 by DepEd to an curriculum adjustment to continue strengthening the program. So next is the plan for language development and the medium of instruction suggested by Dr. Susan Maloney. So who is Dr. Susan Maloney? So Dr. Susan Maloney as an Asian Area Literacy Coordinator for SIL or International in 1998 to 2008. Dr. Maloney with UNESCO and Mahidol University coordinated the first two Bangkok Language and Education Conferences. So, she is the author of the 2016 MTB-MLE or Resource Kit. So, as you can see, this is the first table of a framework. So the table shows the grade level from daycare to grade 6 of the development of medium of instruction as based on Dr. Maloney. So the following table is table represents a framework for the use of 3 language in school. So the following table represent a framework for the use of the 3 language in school: trilingual language development, the MOI, the transitional MOI, and the language of testing. So sa kanin siya kay nadiri ang daycare kanang build oral fluency sa L1 sa L1 kay L1 for teaching, kinder contemporary oral, L1 begin, L1 literacy, and so on and so far. So this the two of table is the table shows the framework of the use of 3 language in the school as mentioned: L1 or L2 or L3, MOI and testing to differ into the grade level from daycare to grade 6. So, in grade 4 and 5, the MOI suggested L1 and L2 and L3 aims to introduce the topic of the lesson in the learners. So, L1 for the building background knowledge, then the teacher incorporates. So, sa L2 kay to present the actual lesson and reviews the lesson in the L1 to assist student understanding. So the L1 is never forbidden as teacher understand that the L1 is necessary to ensure comprehension of the lesson. So, however, the L2 as a language of instruction facilitates learning L2 as such as a time as learners are prepared. So by the grade 6, teachers use L2 and L3 for teaching, and L1 for assessing comprehension of the lesson. So this aims to ensure students are well prepared for the grade 7. So where even less L1 will be used in the classroom. So however, it is always recommended that even with the increase of use of Filipino and English in the classroom, teachers should be never forbid the use of L1 but rather allow students to express themselves as necessary in their L1 and scaffold their production of L2 and L3 to transform their expression into the L2 and L3. So next is oral and written language development is slightly staggered in school to follow for strong language development. Since the Philippines is one of the first country to operationalize the MTB-MLE officially across the nation, other countries are looking to Philippine teacher educators, and Department of Education to clarify lessons learned along the way. So here in our country, officially develop and implement of MTB or MLE as part of a subject to foster our mother tongue language to practice and patronize our own language. So the Filipino teacher shows the learners best understand local and school context, and once empowered will help to foster a strong MTB MLE. So implementation at the school level. So moreover, MLE programs around the world are either additive or aiming to develop the mother tongue, or subtractive programs focusing only in a second language development. So DepEd's MTB MLE policy contributes to a more equal society by valuing the languages, knowledge, worldview, and identities all Filipino children brings to the classroom. So the implementation of such a strong MLE program through the basic education years in the Philippines will contribute to a more productive country by strengthening Filipino identity, thinking, creativity, multilingualism, and multiculturalism. And that's it. Thank you for listening.
Let's move on to Chapter 6, Literacies in the Mother Tongue-Based Multilingual Education, or MTB-MLE, Teaching Strategies. What is Mother Tongue-Based Multilingual Education? MTB-MLE refers to first language first education, that is, schooling which begins in the mother tongue and transitions to additional languages, particularly Filipino and English. MTB-MLE started in the year 2012 as part of the K-12 Basic Education Program. It is implemented specifically in kindergarten and grades 1, 2, and 3. It provides a strong educational foundation in the first language with successful bridging to one or more additional languages, including Filipino and English. Before, it was kind of hard for students to use and learn Tagalog and English. Though they are being taught about this at home, they are used to their home or first language, and it brings confusion to the childhood. Thus, this approach is helpful for the transition. The purpose of a multilingual education program is to develop appropriate cognitive and reasoning skills, enabling children to operate in their community language, the national language, and English. Having a strong foundation sa first language makes acquiring second easier, and that children are able to connect to their country and to the world by using English, as stated by former President Benigno Aquino III. So this is the MTB-MLE framework. The curriculum revolves around three factors, namely political, sociological, psychological, pedagogical, and cultural factors. When we say political, sociological, from the term itself, politics in nature, and sociological, such as customs and mores, socio-economic and educational level, and other social conditions. Psychological, pedagogical factors involves how the learners absorb what they learn, how they behave and respond to a situation. Pedagogical pertains to teacher support, organization and order, motivation, routines, modes of instruction, and teaching methods. Third one, cultural factors, which comprise of set of values and ideologies of a particular community or groups, and which decides the student how he or she behaves at school. Next is the assessment and feedback and learning outcomes and standards. These ones in blue color. Aligning assessment with intended course learning outcomes is crucial to assessment as learning. Learning outcomes prescribe what students are expected to demonstrate, and the assessment plan shows or tells them how they will do that. Let's dissect this framework, starting with the lower part. It states here the cultural and socio-cultural processes which are based on theories, and one of this is the language acquisition theory. So that theory states that children are able to learn language out of a desire to communicate with their surrounding environment and world. Language thus is dependent rather upon and emerges from social interaction. Now going back, my competencies mentioned here: oral, linguistic knowledge, practical and creative writing, critical literacy and language use, and reading and language comprehension. So once ma-master ng competencies, students are able to acquire and master the next level spectrum of skills, which includes comprehension of academic content and curriculum, mastery, listening, speaking, reading, writing, and viewing. So kani nga components contribute to children's cognitive development. Ma-achieve ni sa bata and eventually ang academic development pod. They are interchangeable. Apil na ang second language development, where Filipino, English, and other languages are practiced or used as medium of instruction. Finally, the use of these languages provides students with communicative competence, and that influence them to become lifelong learners. So that's for the MTB-MLE curriculum framework. Let's go to the salient features of MTB-MLE. MTB is much more than just using the learner's first language to explain curriculum content. It provides, first, literacy. Learning to read in the first language or L1 develops skills that transfer to reading any other languages. So as I've mentioned earlier, acquiring second and other languages are easier because of the strong foundation of the first language. Moreover, if ma-develop ang oral proficiency, ang bata will eventually develop reading comprehension. Social interaction is crucial to expand the vocabulary of the child. Prior knowledge. Students should engage in a discussion of what is already familiar with them using the home language, and that ma-apply nila ilang prior knowledge to the current or existing knowledge. Cognitive development and higher order thinking skills. MTB-MLE cultivates and strengthens both critical thinking and language as students articulate expand, and talk about their thoughts and ideas. Strong bridge. MTB-MLE provides a strong bridge to listening, speaking, reading, and writing the L2. Once the basic L1 reading fluency is attained, diha na musod ang reading in the L2. So there is a gradual transition throughout the process, yes, to avoid confusion, to understand the distinction of the L2 or between the L2 and L1, and of course to become proficient in both languages. Alongside reading in the L2, ma-develop ang oral and written proficiency, and once sufficient, pwede na mo-proceed to using L2 as a medium of instruction without the support of L1. Scaffolding. Teachers model fluency and inflection. They facilitate the development of L2. They help students express ideas in the L2, and L1 supports and strengthens the L2. The learning of L2 as L1 is used in teaching it. Teaching for meaning and accuracy. Decoding text requires accuracy, while comprehending text requires decoding skills within a meaningful context. The primary focus in L2 classrooms is accuracy, so that the L2 language is appropriately and or meaningfully used. The goal in learning both or more languages is for learners to become confident in listening, speaking, reading, and writing for meaning and for accuracy. And this table shows or illustrates that. First is listening proficiency. Students are able to use language meaningfully when it is used to understand, think critically, and respond creatively. Meanwhile, accuracy, they recognize and distinguish sounds or understand what others say. For speaking, people speak to communicate and express ideas, share experiences, and convey knowledge. That's the focus on meaning. Sa accuracy, by decoding words or text, a person knows what, how, and when to use a particular word. A person uses correct vocabulary, pronunciation, and grammar to communicate or express. Sa reading, read with understanding, to apply, analyze, evaluate, and to create new knowledge. I guess reading comprehension falls under focus on meaning also. Sa accuracy, we decode by recognizing parts of the words or the words itself, sentences, paragraphs, including what tells us to pause in reading, like how and when to pause. Lastly, writing. Write to communicate knowledge, express ideas and thoughts. In accuracy, when we write, we form letters properly and neatly, spell words correctly, use correct grammar, and use correct term to emphasize your text. Guiding principles for teaching and learning in MTB-MLE. These guiding principles are lifted from the K-12 Curriculum Guide Mother Tongue Deep Ed December 2013. First principle, known to the unknown. We learn when we use what we already know or apply our prior knowledge to the current to help us understand something new. To apply the first principle as a starter to a lesson, the teacher engages the students by asking them what they already know about the topic, using their home language and culture, and use that to introduce the new concept or lesson. Second recommended application is develop an awareness of how the L1 works to support learning the L2 and L3. Goldenberg, 2008. So teachers discuss with the aid of textbooks, reading starting in the L2. Principle 2, language and academic development. Students with well-developed skills in their first language have been shown to acquire additional languages more easily and fully, in turn have a positive impact on their academic achievement. For its application, continue the oral development of L1 and begin reading in L1 to strengthen L2 and L3 learning as well as academic achievement across the curriculum. Genesee et al. 2006. Third principle is the cognitive development. Students who use their multilingual skills have been shown to develop both cognitive flexibility and divergent thinking. Next is higher order thinking skills. Student can explain, analyze, evaluate, and use what they learn to create new ideas and information. Application in all subjects. Focus on activities that build understanding and that encourage students to apply, analyze, and evaluate what they have learned to create new knowledge. Principle 4. Discovery learning. Help the children discover new ideas and use this meaningfully. Application. Find out what the students already know about the topic. Then provide activities that let them use their knowledge to learn the new concept or task. Bruner, 1967. Fifth principle is active listening. Promote peer interaction for active listening. Students work together creatively to solve a problem. They may work in pairs or teams. Language is used as students talk with each other to solve a problem. For the second language active learning, begin the L2 language learning time by focusing on listening and responding to oral language. Principle 6, meaning and accuracy. Application, include plenty of activities that focus on both meaning and accuracy. This way, ma-achieve ang language learning successfully on hearing or listening, speaking, and reading. Seventh principle, language learning or language transfer. Begin the L2 language learning time by focusing on hear, see, do activities that enable students to build up their listening vocabulary. Research in second language acquisition indicates it takes a minimum of 2 years to learn basic communicative skills in a second language when society supports that learning. Thomas and Collier, 2003, Cummins, 2006. Errors are a normal part of second language learning. These experiences in the entire process help identify errors through feedback and evaluation. Principle 8. Affective component, valuing the home language culture. Home language that is irrelevant often affects to the academic learning of the child. Teachers should create an inclusive environment that values and celebrates diversity, children from different ethno-linguistic language groups. The classroom environment. Teachers should create an inclusive environment that values children from different ethno-linguistic language groups and values and celebrates diversity. Teachers encourage their use of L1 through providing books, visual representations, and concrete objects that reflect their background and interest. Program components of MTB-MLE. Preliminary assessment of learners' achievement as baseline. It is related to the research on language situation of the child and that of the community's motivation for MLE. Awareness raising and mobilization activities that provide information, understanding of the issues, and support for the program with the help of or headed by the government, NGOs, donors, private sectors, businesses, etc. Recruitment methods that bring motivated and respected language minority language speakers alongside trained educators who train local teachers for implementing the program. Ongoing training and supervision to gain competence, creativity, commitment, and credibility within and outside the community. A process of developing and testing a writing system that will encourage members of language communities to continue reading and writing on their language. Government-produced curriculum guidelines that can be adapted to a variety of minority language communities. Curriculum adaptation workshops in which local teachers use their guidelines to develop teaching plan that fit within the local culture. a literature production and procurement process that equip minority language speakers, identify and utilizes localized production process of inexpensive production of reading materials and provides grading reading materials and LWC or the language of wider communication, documentation and evaluation systems that provide information on a regular basis for the program and to report to the government, donors, and stakeholders. Lastly, cooperation among the individuals and entities and links with existing programs, government agencies, the NGOs, and academic institutions that are committed to supporting appropriate education in ethnic minority communities. That's all. Thank you.
Language theories and linguistic empiricists. So when can theories become tools in language? So theories become tools in language whether when matter is for teaching a native or first language or the acquisition of a second new language. General theories in language instructive have impregnated direct and indirect method of language acquisition or learning, more so in the teaching of language, its rules and style. Empiricists and theories may clash in opinion and differ in research finding, but one thing is certain, theories do play an indispensable role in the shaping of any language or linguistic curriculum for language teaching and language and learning. Francois Gwen's also has different theories in language teaching surely equip the 21st century educator with the sterling benefits and reasons behind a multiplicity of approaches. So, in this light, theories are rendered as tools of different shapes, sizes, and techniques, actively placed in the arsenal of language educator. So, the former capitalize on using connection ideas in a sequence to learn a language, while the latter refrains from using the learner's native or first language. Francois Gwen's also has different theories in language teaching surely equip the 21st century educator with the sterling benefits and reasons behind a multiplicity of approaches. So, in this light, theories are rendered as tools of different shapes, sizes, and techniques, actively placed in the arsenal of language educator. So, the former capitalize on using connection ideas in a sequence to learn a language, while the latter refrains from using the learner's native or first language. Linguist Noam Chomsky, Professor Emeritus at Massachusetts Institute of Technology, believes that the human beings have a natural predisposition to learn any language such that the human capacity to learn is a biological and generative capacity, emanating from an innate universal grammar and syntactical rules universal enough for intellection or institution. Noam Chomsky, in the contrast to Chomsky's predecessors who were convinced that language learning was mostly learned process, and Chomsky's notion that the human brain is pre-wired for rules-based communication media is diametrically opposed to the accepted beliefs of the past century. Tools that translate to terrific teaching. In a world today that is marked by pockets of terror, discrimination, and 1,001 contradictions, teachers everywhere will always welcome new theories and tools for teaching. There are theories that are sugar-coated with sweet premises and ideals, but are really wanting substance, or worst, serve some hidden agenda. Scientific theories and trendy sophistications of language teaching influence teacher beliefs. Reflective teaching in language education can be a very useful tool in fomenting meaningful connections and learners' motivation in language learning. Farrell and Ives 2014 studied the positive effects of reflective practice when correlated to teacher beliefs. First is substantive conversation. So, this is a form of talk adults can use to engage children in long and rich or by extend. Third, so in the tools that translate to terrific teaching, teacher teach these things, but do not everything new out there are not everything we find in the World Wide Web. So www is a good or will be a good for us for teaching. So sometimes the theories and the tools we pick, left and right and from wherever just because they are new do not mean that they are good nor will they innovate the way a teaching teach. So not all the websites or in the World Wide Web can help teaching or teacher to teach students, and also it will be different for teacher to teach when they are using websites because they are not using the old way of teaching children, but instead of they they use the new technologies to teach easily the students, and whatever happened the old teaching way for teacher is the best way to teach children. Theories matter in language teaching. All the language skills are important and each one is distinctly necessary in language teaching. The allied skills are always used every single teaching day. Sound theories that aid in teaching, on the other hand, will empower and equip the teacher with tools and specific new knowledge that inspire language teaching as a practice must inspire. Theories matter so much in language learning, and teaching practitioners the world over the challenge to expand in certain effective ways to learning and write. Such theories, according to Indonesian lecturer Parlindungan, whether they present themselves as a traditional or behavioristic bottom-up view theories, audiolingual phonics, cognitive block theory, 1992. Teachers can better take advantage of the most useful methodologies associated with the different approaches or theories. This recommendation from Southeast Asian language educator is plain and simple. In his core message behind the technical location to teach is to inspire. Teacher who that employs all the means possible in listening, reading, writing, and speaking to the learners, and with the learners in the propagation of something that should not be. So, a good theories in language instruction from the past and in present become tools in themselves for knowledge and power, and with the knowledge that is clothed with the understanding, consequently render both the teacher and learner in language learning and teaching truly approximate wisdom, and that in the process one become a builder of the word as well as a builder of the world. To be inspiring, one should always be ready to effectively communicate new, challenging, creative ideas and to create conducive environment for the new experience. So students and teacher will be open for the new experiences that they will face in the world or in the future. Domains of language and literacy. Oral language is the foundation of learning to read and write. Children's speaking and listening skills lead the way for their reading and writing skills. And together, these language skills are the primary tools of the mind for all future learning. Glaser, 1989, highlights the importance of the home in providing diverse opportunities for using oral language in natural ways and using speaking, reading, and writing activities in association with functional daily activities such as talking about shared events, reading together, and writing experiences. So, oral language or the term oral language refers to speaking and listening, and the term literacy refers to the reading and writing. So, um, in this way, oral language accompanies the early reading and writing experience through the everyday experience that they have. Children will gain an oral language skills. They need to become a strong reader, a writer, and still it is not enough for children to learn language on their own. So it is important that teacher will help children to learn language in structured activities such as shared reading, word play, and dramatic play. So teacher should be a guidance or a guide to every student so that students will easily understand and know what is the oral language means to them. Young children need to develop skills in the following 5 primary areas of oral language. Roscoe, Tabors, and Lenhart, 2009. First, semantic. What is semantic? This enables children to develop meanings for the words they hear and say when conversing with others. So, in this semantic areas of oral language, children learn by having conversation with others, and they will learn and understand many words, phrases, and sentences in other people. The second is syntax or grammar. This helps in children to learn the rules of how words are linked together. So, grammar and syntax, children develop their oral language skills. They also develop and understand the grammar, the sets of structural rules that govern the combination of words and phrases into sentences, as well as how sentences are combined into paragraph. So third is morphology. This helps in figuring out how to manipulate the smallest units of meaning in the language called morphemes, pre meaning before, and school. So morphology is the study of meaningful units of languages called morphemes, and how students combine informing words. For example, the word contradiction can be broken up as contradiction. So, with the prefix contra, against, the root word dic, to speak, and the suffix ion is a verbal action. So, for the fourth is more monology. So, this helps in understanding the sound structure of language. The smallest unit of sounds of their language are the phonemes. So, phonology covers the organization or system of sounds within a language. Once the phonological system has been acquired for basic listening and speaking, children begin to develop phonological awareness, the awareness of words in sentences or syllables in the words. Fifth is pragmatics. This refers to understanding the social uses of language and basic social rules like saying hello and goodbye, saying please and thank you, and taking turns into conversation. So, pragmatic language refers to the social language skills that we are using in our daily lives interaction with other people. This includes like we say hello, goodbye, thank you, and welcome to. That's the expression that we can say to other people. So in this chart, this is, as you can see, this is the part of oral language. The substantive conversation, conversational strategies to semantics, syntax, morphology, phonology, and pragmatics. Strategies for oral language development. Children succeed when they are provided with learning conditions that nurture their language discoveries, their different uses of language, and their first attempt to read and write. Such supportive learning environments reflect three important elements: good conversation, effective conversational strategies, and interesting instruction. When sensitively combined, these elements create enriching oral language environments when children talk and have fun. First is substantive conversation. So, this is a form of talk adults can use to engage children in long and rich dialogues about important topics. Such conversation between adults and children and among children is driven by a basic human need to know, to tell, and to explain about oneself, one's experiences, and the world around him or her. Rich talk and compelling themes are two top-notch ways to encourage substantive talk in the classroom settings. Children are more likely to engage in rich talk, for example, when engaged in familiar routines and activities. So, familiarity with what they are doing enables them to give their attention to talking about what they are doing. In other words, they are able to use language over action. So, rich talk is also more likely occur in dramatic play. This activity enables children to use language to imagine, to negotiate rules, to describe action, and to explain the rules of play. Also, talk is about concepts, themes, and problems in the discipline and includes the higher order thinking such as making distinction, applying ideas, forming generalization or raising questions, not just the reporting of experiences, facts, definition, or procedures. So, number two is effective conversational strategies. So, this is a good conversation. Is an art. It is especially the case when adults seek to have substantive conversation with young children. Here are three conversational strategies that should be a part of every teacher's communication skills. So first is clarify intent, question tell, and think about. So what is clarify extend? First is clarify and extend. Research tells us that when adults define words, when they disentangle confusing ideas and terms, and when they add details to conversation, children learn more language and are exposed to more new words. Bloom 2002. So, in clarify and extended, children develop their understanding, explain their opinion, combine ideas, and extend understanding. Also, children can explore their thoughts, ideas, feelings, and can express their experiences. So, here's how it works so that teacher will easily can teach their children. So first is listen to what a child say. So in order to teacher to answer the questions of the children, she need or he need to understand or listen the children's thoughts and what they say. So second is pick up an idea on the child's talk. And lastly, add to it, explain it further, and disentangle any confusion. So it will be easier for teacher to listen the ideas of the students and pick one of it that is more hard for the children and explain it clearly to the children uh, and discuss it to the children so that they can avoid the confusion or the teacher can answer the confusion of the children. So second is question and tell. So asking question and telling answer are effective ways to interact with young children as long as these talk strategies are built upon the child's interest and efforts. Wood, Mabun, and Cranstor, 19800. So here's how the strategies work. So first, join the child in an activity. So dapat musabay ka or dapat mo kuyog ka sa estudyante maghimo sa activity para ma-answer nimo ilang tanang questions o magayda nimo sila sa ilang mga buhatonon. So second, draw attention to part and details. So we need to give attention to the child and give them the part of the lesson and give them the exact details. So third is maintain interest with the contingent on the child's effort. And lastly is offer praise and encouragement. So we need to give or every discussion that children can answer or every good action or doings of the children and activities we need to praise them and encourage them to do it and finish their activities, and we also need to tell them that it's good, very good to the children so that they will encourage more to do more activities. So third is think aloud. Teacher instill a sense of inquiry in children when they frequently show how they are thinking and wondering about things around them. When they model curiosity and think aloud, they expose children to the abstract uses of language, such as imagining and demonstrating an attitude of learning. So, here's is how the strategies work for a teacher. First is involve the children in what you are doing. Second is verbalize your thoughts. And third is model how you to think thought a task or problem to a conclusion. So as a teacher or teacher should always think about the children. So teacher need to consider the feelings of those children when doing an action. So mostly teachers' world are the children's world because they are unite or get together to learn and explore their thoughts. And verbalize your thoughts. Teacher need to express their feelings and their expression to the children. Third is model how to think through a task or problem to conclusion. So teacher should be a good example for children, especially when facing a problem to provide a conclusion or solution to their problem. Third is effective instructional techniques. To master the less obvious oral language skills that are the foundation of literacy, children need to be given oral language instruction. They need to be taught, for example, to pay attention to how words rhyme, to manipulate morphemes, and to listen for main ideas. Here are some instructional techniques that are geared to teaching oral languages. So, first is the dialogic reading technique. This is the conversation between a teacher and the children about the book. Some prompts are needed to have a substantive conversation that extend children's use of language. You can remember these prompts with the acronym CROWD. C stand for completion prompts. So leave a blank at the end of the sentence for children to fill in. For example, Jack and Joe went up the hill to fetch a pail of blank. This prompt exercise children's sensitivity to the structure of language. So R stands for recall prompts. These prompts encourage children to remember what happened in the book. So, for example, you say, the monkey and the turtle found a banana plant floating in the river. Do you remember what happened afterwards? Use these prompts to help children retell the sequence of the event in the story. So, O stands for open-minded prompts. These prompts focus on the picture in the book. You might say, it's your turn to tell the story. So W stands for what, where, when, and why prompts. Still focusing on the picture in the book, you might say, what's this? Or why do you think the puppy is sad? This is a way of encouraging children to retrieve words from their own vocabulary to teach new words or to express their opinions. And lastly, D stands for distancing prompts. These prompts guide children to make connection between the book and their experience. Distancing allows them to practice their conversational and storytelling skills. So, for example, reading, you may ask, do you have a top? How do you play with it? So, the language experience approach. The language experience approach, or we all know LEA, involves child dissertation of a common experience with a teacher as the scribe. All that skills of listening, speaking, reading, writing, and thinking are included to this approach. The philosophy of the approach is best described by their rationale. Leah Allen, 1963. Language experience dictation builds a wealth of opportunity for children to the language and to see literacy in action modeled by the teacher. The basic procedure for Leah is given below. So step 1 is motivational activity. Share a common experience with children such as nature walk, field trip, picture experience, holidays, or a special event, poetry, song, tall tale, family, pet, friends, recipe, movie, hobby, or the weather. So, for example, children wants to do singing and nursery rhymes. So, teacher should allow student or children to sing a song. Teacher should suit what students want so that they can easily communicate and they can learn by each other. So step 2 is discussion time. Provide a discussion time so Children can think, exchange, expand, and clarify ideas before writing. So, teachers should give students time to ask questions, to clarify details, and to clarify their ideas. Because for me, that lesson shouldn't not be boring. The student should enjoy the learning. So step 3 is this dictation time. Ask the children to help you remember the event by writing about it. Have them recall highlights and write their comments on chart paper. So for example, you will recall the last discussion and you will ask the students to help you to recall those activities or discussion, and you need to put it or write their answer or comment on the paper so that you will know who participate and who help you to recall the lesson. So fourth is reading the story. So read the story back to the children, trace each word with your hand and allow them to verify that this is exactly what you say. Then read it again and invite the children to read along with you and reread the text. So you can read a storybook to the children. Then you can also ask the children the story plot or what happened to the story. And if the children give the answer, you will ask them that is that sentences you read is exactly what you say to the story or not. Then you can read it again and you can invite children to read it along with you, and you read the text on the storybook. So fifth is reinforcement. Now you have some fun with the story. So engage children in discovering letters. So for example, let's find all the words with letter M in the story and circle them with the red marker. Or words, let's look for the word hibiscus. So it's just a word finding or letter finding. It also an activity for children to know that they listen or they know what the lesson you told them. Sing, say, read, and write pocket chart. In one occasion, you may capture the spirit of songs, rhymes, and poems by writing them down and displaying them in a pocket chart for children to sing, say, read, and write on their own. These playful ways with words improve children's memory, phonological awareness, vocabulary, and creative uses of language. Here's what to do over time. So, first is choose a song, verse, chant, nursery rhymes, and short poem. Second is sing, chant, or say the selection with the children. Have them repeat phrases to help them learn the piece. Third is write the words on sentence strips in front of the children. Say each word you write the phrases or sentence as the children watch. Invite them to chime in. Place the strip in the pocket chart. When the entire selection is placed in the chart, sing, chant, or say it through while pointing to the words. Fourth is have children close their eyes and mix up the sentences. After they open their eyes, have them help put the strips back in order. So teacher can choose a song or a nursery rhyme or poem. So teacher should tell or say the selection to the student. And you will say it again and again so the children so that it will help them to learn the piece. And you can also write the word or sentence strips in the front of children. So, you also see it again and again. Children learn and memorize those songs or poem. Invite them to sing with you and place the strip strip words or sentences on the board, and while you say it or sing it, you should point the words. So, and also you can help children by closing their eyes and mix up the sentences or words, and after they open their eyes, you need to tell them that you need a help to put the strip back in order. So, a wall calendar for daily news. A wall calendar is a way to enrich your settings with print and provide opportunities for children to talk, read, and write on topics of special interest to them. It includes daily news and increased children's participation in calendar activities. Here are the steps involved. First is select a wall space to display 8.5 by 11-inch sheets of Manila paper, one for each day of the week. So, mamili ta og kanang space para mabutngan sa atong Manila paper. So, second is following the calendar routine, work with children to record the following information on the Manila paper: a day of the week, a date, weather, and one newsworthy item. We are going to the garden today. Be sure to write the text in the large print. So in the calendar, we should also put it the day of the week, the date, weather, and the special activity that you are going to do in that day. So third is ask for a volunteer or two to make a drawing for the calendar page. Talk about what the drawing might be and what color to use. Be sure to make a note of who is illustrating the page of the day. So, mamili ta sa atong student og 2 kabuok para maghimo sa kanang drawing og mo choose sa colors ng gamiton ana ang adlaw. So we need to make sure nga atong i-take note ang name sa student nga nag-illustrate ana nga page karon nga day. So fourth is collect a calendar page at the end of the day. Put other additions such as photos or three-dimensional items that will increase the interest and add visual details. Attach the page to the wall in sequence as the days of the week pass. So, at the end of the day, imong pagkwaon ang katong pages calendar. Then, pwede ta mo attach og picture og kanang mga visual nga details student. So, i-attach na to ang page sa wall sa mga adlaw o mga weeks nga nalabay. So, fifth is each day, review the calendar wall. This will help the children to remember past events and recall details for each day. So, taga-adlaw ato jung tanawon ang calendar. Okay, it will help children to recall the event that they are doing last day. 6 is repeat each steps 1 to 5 for each week of the month. If possible, display each week, moving each passing week further up the wall to create a giant calendar for a month. Have children locate specific days and view, read, and remember events that have passed using a pointer. So, atong balik-balikon ang step 1 to 5 every month. So, para sa ma-locate sa student ang mga specific days and ma-remember nila ang special event or event nga ilang gibuhat or mga activities nga ilang gibuhat ana nga day pwede ta mo gamit og pointer para dili sila maglisod og point out sa ilang mga gusto i-point out. So 7, after a month, assemble the pages in a book, make a cover, display it in the library corner for children to look and read it on their own. So after a month, pwede na nato makuha ang mga pages niya atong sagol tanan para mahimo siyang libro niya. Himuan na to siya og cover niya. Ato ni siya display sa library para ang mga student pwede ra mo tanawan ni bisan kung saan nila gusto og mobasa ani. So, teaching reading in the mother tongue. The following 5 areas or domains of reading instruction have been reported by national reading panels as contributory to reading success of children in K-3. So, research has increasingly shown that learning to read is one's mother tongue early in school helps to reduce dropout rates and make education more engaging, meaningful, and enjoyable for children. Children who benefit from mother tongue instruction and learning also perform better in the second language. So, the mother tongue makahelp Genesis student for their future. And for children, kinder to grade 3, dapat yun na nato siya tudluan para makaila sila unsa ang mother tongue and ma-appreciate nila ang language jud sa mga Pilipino or Bisaya. Kay mostly karon ang mga bisag dagko na di Japon kabaw or maglisod og istorya sa Binisaya, mga lawom nga Bisaya. So mao na karon balik nila ang mother tongue para matabangan ng estudyante makat-on sa mga dapat makat-unan. So, phonemic awareness instruction. Phonemic awareness is the ability to notice, think about, and work with the individual sounds in spoke words. Before children learn to read print, they need to become aware of how the sounds in words work. They must understand that words are made up of speech, sounds, or phonemes. So, phonemes awareness involves also teaching children to focus on and manipulate phonemes in spoken syllables or words. And also, phonemic awareness instruction is frequently confused with phonics instruction, which entails teaching students how to use letter sounds relation to read or spell words. So, phonic instruction. The goal of phonic instruction is to help children learn and use the alphabetic principle, the understanding that there are systematic and predictable relationship between written letters and spoken words. So also, phonics instruction kay makatabang siya or way siya para motudlo o read sa mga students. And the stress the acquisition of letter sounds, correspondence, and their use in reading and spelling. So below are several approaches to phonic instruction. First is synthetic phonic. Children learn how to convert letter combination into sounds, and then how to blend the sounds together to form words. So this focuses on teaching each individual letter sounds and having kids try to sounds each letter or letter combination one at a time, and then try to blend those back into words pronunciation. Second is analytic phonics. Children learn to analyze letter sounds relationships in previously learned words. They do not pronounce sounds in isolation. So, referring siya sa a very common approach for teaching or reading that starts at the word level, not at the sounds or level. It does not teach the blending of sounds together as in done in synthetic phonics. Third is analogy-based phonics. Children learn to use parts of words families they know to identify words they don't know that have similar parts. The aim for this is to teach students to use known or decode unknown words. So, for example, to decode the unknown word Snapdent might think of the known word map. Teaching students unfamiliar words by analogy to know words, recognizing that the rhyme segment of an unfamiliar words is identical. So fourth is phonic through spelling. Children learn to segment words into phonemes and to make words by writing letters to phonemes. Children learn to segment word into phonemes and make word by writing letters for phonemes. Embedded phonics. This approach is not systematic or explicit. Children are taught letters sound relationship during the reading of connected text. And sixth is unset rhyme phonics instruction. Children learn to identify the sounds of the letter or letters before the first vowel, the onset in the one syllable word and the sound of the remaining part of the word, the rhyme. So, fluency. Fluency is the ability to read a text accurately and quickly. When fluent readers read silently, they recognize words automatically. Fluency provides a bridge between word recognition and comprehension. Because fluent readers do not have to concentrate on decoding the words. They can focus their attention on making connection among the ideas in a text and between these ideas and their background knowledge. So, therefore, they are able to focus on the comprehension as they recognize the words. And also, researchers have found several effective strategies related to repeated oral reading. So first is students read and reread a text several times until a certain level of fluency is reached. 4 rereadings are sufficient for most students. So, balik-balik ko nagbasa sa students para makuha nila ang words or unsa siya ka fluent nga word. So second is oral reading practice is increased through the use of audio tapes, tutors, peer guidance or other means. And model fluent reading and then have students reread the text on their own. So, imo silang basahan sa story or kanang sentences and human ang student mo read na ana nga sila ra. Next is have student repeatedly read passage aloud with guidance. So dapat ang student mo basa ana nga naa ka para mag-guidan nimo siya if sakto ba or dili. So vocabulary instruction. Vocabulary refers to the word we must know to communicate effectively. In general, vocabulary can be described as oral vocabulary or reading vocabulary. Oral vocabulary refers to the words that we use in speaking or recognize or use in print. Vocabulary plays an important part in learning to read. Vocabulary is very important in reading comprehension. Research reveals that most vocabulary is learned indirectly, and second is some vocabulary must be taught indirectly. So, children learn words' meanings indirectly in 3 ways. First is they engage in their daily oral language. So, makapaminaw sila na anak, perme. makapaminaw sila pirmi ana sa mga tao. Second is they listen to adults read to them. Second kay maminaw sila sa mga dagko or teacher nga mobasa ana words or story. So third is they read extensively on their own. So third is ang student mismo magsigig basa ana nga sentences or words. Word learning strategies. Students need to be able to determine the meaning of words that are new to them, but not taught directly to them. They need to develop effective word learning strategies that includes, first, using dictionaries and other reference aids such as thesaurus, glossaries, and the like. So, mogamit sila og mga dictionaries or mo search sila sa mga website para makabaw sila ang ana nga mga words unsay meaning ana. So second, using word parts, knowing some common prefixes and suffixes, base words and root word can help students learn the meaning of the new words. So, mo-explore ang mga students para makabaw sila ana nga mga bag-o nga words. Unsaon paggamit ug unsa ang meaning ana nga words. So third is using context clues. Context clues are hints about the meaning of an unknown word that are provided in the words, phrases, and sentences that surround the world. So ang student pwede ra mo gamit aning context clues para ma-learn sila more words or new words and ma-answer ilang mga pangutana og makat-on sila ana og unsaon pag-pronounce ang words og unsaon paggamit ang words. Comprehension instruction. Comprehension is the reason for reading. If readers can read the word but do not understand what they are reading, they are not really reading. First is good readers are purposeful. They have a purpose for reading. So, they may read to find out how a food processor works, read a guidebook to find information about interesting places, read a magazine for entertainment, and the like. So, second is good readers are active. They think actively as they read to make sense of what they read. Good readers engage in a complicated process. So, they use their experiences and knowledge of the world, their knowledge of vocabulary and language structures, and their knowledge of reading strategies. They know when they have problems with understanding and how to resolve this problem as they occur. Text comprehension can be improved by instruction that helps readers use specific comprehension strategies. The following strategies appears to have a firm basis for improving text comprehension. First is monitoring comprehension. This teaches students to be aware of what they do understand, identify what they do not understand, and use fix-up strategies to resolve problems in comprehension. So, para makabaw sila unsa ilang nakatunan og makabaw sila unsa maka-identify sila unsa ang wa nila na sabtan og pwede ra na nila isagol para makahimo sila strategies or way para ma-solve ang problem. So, second is using graphic and semantic organizer. So, graphic organizer illustrate concepts and interrelationships among concepts in text using diagrams or other pictorial devices. So third is answering questions. Questions answering instruction encourages students to learn to answer questions better and to learn more as they read. So, ang students encourage yun sa mga teacher para og motudlo sila muas dyan na sila sa student og questions kay og maka-ask sila questions mo na yung hindi mailhan nga ang kanang students na minaw og naka-catch up sa discussion. So, generating questions. Teaching students to ask their own questions, improving their active processing of text and their comprehension. So, ang teacher mo ask questions sa students para ma-active ang comprehension sa usa ka students. So, next is recognizing story structure. Story structure refers to the way that content and events of a story are organized into a plot. And lastly is summarizing. A summary is a synthesis of the important ideas in the text. So, sa summarizing kay imong i-summarize ang mga important details sa story para mas masabtan siya o mas mamubo siya basahon sa mga children or sa other readers.